Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Sara with her movie, Leveled. Let's take a look at the clip.
Papa, did you change? Papa, कहाँ जा रही है?
I told you.
I need my chewing gum, लड़की.
You have to go, okay? Nana, B!
छोटू.
Sara, welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family. Thank you for bringing Leveled to us and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
I honestly, it was so lovely to see last night, just your film up on the big screen with us, just seeing your program, everyone just having such a great time. But for those that were unfortunate not to be there, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
It's about a young girl. Her name is Safa. She is trying to defy the odds. She's a visible Muslim and she's trying to pursue her dreams, but she is challenged by a very matriarchal Pakistani traditional grandmother, all while dealing with a mom who is sick with cancer. So we really follow her on a day where she is trying to achieve the impossible. And the question that I really want audiences to take with them is, no matter what happens, no matter how hard the road might be and look, with hope and believing in yourself, anything really is possible.
Why would you not want to watch that? And honestly, Safa, her character, led the way so well. I almost was like, why has this got around? I want like a feature or a TV series around these characters. They've come alive and now I want more. And honestly, it really was spectacular. All these characters, I was like, oh my goodness, we need to, this can't just be a short film. So we'll get to that. But where did it for you, Sara? Where did the inspiration come for you in bringing this story and these characters to life?
Well, a few years ago, my grandma was passing away. So she was my maternal grandmother. And I was really stuck at the end of writing the script. I wanted to figure out how was I going to create a world where it was not just believable, but it was a magical world where I really changed the narrative. And as she was passing away, I started to think about all the ways in which her life could have and would have been different if she was given a different set of parameters. Unfortunately, more so than often, her voice was suppressed. She lived in a society where she wasn't taken very seriously. And I was like, well, what if we put her in a world where she was? Yeah. What if people actually saw her? Would she have made different decisions? So that is really where the inspiration came from.
I mean, goodness me, and then here we are. We just go on this wonderful journey. We know from Safa's perspective. Your cast were amazing. Like I just really loved them all. They've all just gave so much input to it, and even they just had so much rounded character. In a short film, which is not always easy to do in a short film. How did you go about bringing your cast together?
That was a little bit of a challenge. Finding my lead, I needed to find someone who was South Asian, someone who could dance, and someone who really understood the nuances of the culture. So I didn't know if I was going to find her. So I started doing a social media casting call, and I scoured TikTok. I love TikTok, and I found her.
You found her on TikTok?
I found her on TikTok, and I found her on Instagram. Amazing. And I remember one of my casting director and going, "Oh, I found her Safa." And she's like, no, you can't do that. Like, you can't just go and find someone on social media. And I'm like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Why can't I?
Yes.
And there was just this very, this intuitive that I had. Like, I was like, she is the one. This is the person. And lo and behold, she was.
That's amazing. Wow. Oh my goodness. See, it works. You never know what and when it's funny when you, as a director, when you know.
Yes. That's
so
so true. But we did have so many lovely ladies audition for the role.
Yeah.
And I think what was so special about that was listening to them really resonate with Safa. And that kind of gave me even more validation that, oh my God, I have to make this. And this needs to be made a certain way.
Yeah. One of the things that I really love that you capture in this film is just sort of the multi-generational perspectives, right? Just, obviously through generational, there's different perspectives, different upbringings, different outlooks within that home, that culture, that community, that city, that state. And so I love this dynamic of what you have from just like from the younger person to the older person. Like, how do you work as a director and sort of like, encapsulate those moments with your actors?
Well, I do believe in preparation.
Yes.
So I worked for about 3 to 4 months with my actors, and and it was during COVID, so it was a little difficult because everything had to be over Zoom. But in some ways, that made it a little bit more intimate. So I would have a lot of one-on-ones with the supporting cast, with my lead, and sit down, and we just really got to know one another. I mean, every director needs to be an actor's director. I mean, that is part of working in this industry, but also understanding who they are before we get on set and them understanding me. And I think with that came this understanding and mutual respect for one another. And then from there was a lot of questions that they had. And it was really easy for me to answer because this story came from such a personal place. And so when we talk about the grandmother, we talk about Safa, we talk about the mom, that was really my life growing up. My grandmother lived with me for so many years. So I was really able to understand why they were asking it, but then have these answers that allow them to go back and make the role their own. Because that was also really important to me too.
Well, also thank you, Sara, for bringing something so heartfelt and personal to your own experience and putting this into a film. I mean, I think your film can resonate with so many people, whether you can identify with the characters, relate to the characters, or just relate to the experience in itself. And, we never know when our time is up. And it was so hard to sort of see, obviously, her mom going through, so much with cancer and just, the family dynamics that sometimes happens. And I'm just curious for you, like, what did you kind of hope, what did you intend for your audience to kind of encapsulate from your film?
I mean, you really summed it up very beautifully. I think the world and what we do is very fleeting. And what was really important for me was to let anyone know, no matter how old they are, no matter what stage in life they're at, that if you really believe in yourself, it's not too late. You can really accomplish your dreams, no matter what that looks like. It doesn't have to be acting or filmmaking. It could be anything. And that was something that I really learned when my grandmother was passing away, because she was such a resilient, strong woman. And I was like, well, what if, would have, could have, should have. I don't think we should be living in this world with any of them. I think we should really live in this world feeling like we did everything we could to live the best we can.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, again, through the the lens of Safa and what she's learned from her mom and her grandparents as well, from those age groups. Living in this world sometimes is tough as well. And obviously from Safa's perspective, and even just that unfortunate but very common moment that you encapture even in the pharmacy, and just that experience. And, and I hope it helps people clock and understand those experiences of the microaggression experiences that happen every single day that, need to be condemned and taken out of, and people it needs to stop. But like, you also just incorporated that so well into the daily life. But this is people are facing this every single day, right?
Yeah, I think that was really important for me because as a storyteller, it's obviously important to tell stories from different sides.
Yeah.
But that particular pharmacy scene hit so many people even on set, because they were like, well, that happened to me, or that happened to my grandma. That's happened to me.
Yeah.
And I think what's really important to know is there's one special moment towards the end of the scene where I really wanted to highlight that sometimes it's just one person who can stand up for the truth. And no matter how that looks like, it could be as granular as getting a prescription and not understanding, and the pharmacist not understanding what that means, right? The prescription was like in Urdu.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what does tawakanna mean?
Yeah.
And having someone who doesn't look different, who he could relate to, and who was like, I think you need to take a moment and figure out what are you saying to this young girl?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I think we need a little bit more of that in this world.
Absolutely. No, we really do. And it gives that sense of like, okay, maybe we can still have a tiny bit of faith in humanity still, even when you feel like you want to give up in those moments when you're going through that experience. One of the things that I honestly, like, I'm not going to give the ending away, but I got super chills just the way that the film was brought together, because I think one of the things you really encapsulated in your film was just how different generations of family want to communicate. They want the best for you generally, right? But they've only had their experiences, and they want you to take in like what they've experienced, and that they can somehow pass that on. And I just felt there's kind of beautiful moments where, you know, they came together and they found each other, and they found that support of each other, and they embraced in their love and their culture and their understanding. And I just thought it was so beautiful how you just kind of brought the generations together in the end.
Oh, no, thank you. I think that's important. I think everyone has their misbeliefs.
Yeah.
Everyone has their flaws. But I think in the grandmother's own way, she thought she was doing what's best for her granddaughter. And it's really humanizing those moments.
Yeah.
Because not everyone is the villain.
Yeah.
They could be the villain in your particular world, but in their world, they're the hero.
Yeah.
And it was really important for me to humanize that moment between Safa, her grandmother, and her mother. But what was really important for me too was to say, you know, we see a lot of generational trauma stories, which is so important. We need to see that because it's still unfortunately happening.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter what culture you're from. You know, I have friends who are Italian. They're like, oh my God, my grandmother does that to me too. But I think what is important to know is it's great to see stories, especially a Muslim story, a South Asian story, where I'm changing the narrative and saying, okay, on one hand, we have a very matriarchal grandmother, but on the other hand, we have this mother who is sick with cancer, but she's really trying to change the narrative.
Yeah.
And she's really trying to break that cycle. Yeah. And it's almost like we're in this transitional period. And it's just a reality that a lot of us are in. Yeah. And I really, that was so important for me to highlight because we're all the same. As different as we look and we seem, and sometimes we are, we all have the same challenges when it comes to family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this from the grandmother to the mother to the daughter. It was just lovely to see this. They're all passing on. They all want the best for each of their younger selves, etc. But they're all striving for the dream. And then to see Safa, we see what dream she's fighting for on her own, and to see that like unfold, I thought that just really left us with like a lot of hope. And also, you walk down the street, you don't quite know what people's dreams are. They may not look, they may not like show what their dreams are like on the outside every day. Doesn't mean that deep inside they might not have them, right?
That's exactly what I really wanted to leave the audience with, that don't judge a book by its cover. Yeah. And Safa's really defying gravity. She's defying the odds, because who would think that someone who looks like her, who is covered, would want to dance? But I think it just goes to show that we all have these moments inside of us that live. And maybe my grandmother had a moment too, and I'll never know. Yeah. But I really wanted everyone else who is still breathing and who still do have a chance to making their dreams come true, to know that you can do it. Yeah. Just believe in yourself. And I know that's so cheesy, but I do think like we need that now.
No, we do. And I'm listen, I wasn't done with Safa. You kind of left us with her, and like at the end, and I was like, no, where does the story go? So what is next, Sara? What is next? Are we seeing more of these characters and story? Where are we going?
Yes. So this is a proof of concept. Yes. So amazing. I am done the feature screenplay. Amazing. I'm working on development. I want to see this feature on screen. Yes. I like to say it's Coda meets Bend It Like Beckham meets To All the Boys. Oh, awesome. That's the comp. Yeah. And it's honestly a story that really, I know I'm the filmmaker, so I'm a little biased here, but it really needs to be told.
Yeah, and by you.
And by me, yeah of course, because it's one of the most personal stories that I've ever written and that I've ever been able to tell. So it's just as important to tell that story in the most authentic way possible.
Well, I honestly just think, Sara, like when you're left with a short film and a proof of concept, and I never look into whether films are proof of concept, so I always want to make I don't want to be, fed into that. But when I looked at it, I was like, we are not done with these story and these characters. And so I just want to say, like, well done for you for creating this not only a great story, but fantastic characters that like we want to see more of. So we can't wait for the feature. So just thank you very much for making it.
No, thank you. Honestly. Thank you for understanding what this means.
Yeah, well, we're ready for the feature. We're supporting you.
Too.
But thank you for bringing it to us, and welcome to the New Filmmakers family.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sara, buddy.